And now, I'm very excited to kick off today's event, Upskilling to Keep Current and Competitive in an Ever-Evolving Workforce. And today, we're thrilled to be joined by two leaders at Thomson Reuters, Pragashni Fox and Rebecca Davidson. Welcome. Would each of you take a minute to introduce yourselves? We'd love to hear what's going on in your life personally and professionally, and what you do today at Thomson Reuters. Pragashni, we'll start with you.
Great. Thanks so much, Eloise. And it's so exciting to be here. My name is Pragashni Fox, and I am the head of HR for product operations and technology at Thomson Reuters. As well as I have a dual role, and I'm responsible for leading the Thomson Reuters Combined Talent and Diversity Center of Excellence globally around the world, and including talent acquisition. And on a personal front, I'm a mom of two, have a husband, and I'm soon going to be losing a daughter to university. So those are some of the adjustments that I'm getting ready for. So that's a little bit about me. Rebecca.
Thanks, Pragashni. Hi, everyone. And my name is Rebecca Davidson. I'm a HR consultant based in London. I'm part of a team that works on strategic projects across the organisation. And I've had the pleasure to work with Pragashni on many career development initiatives. So I'm very excited to share that with you today. From a personal perspective, I've just moved house, so deep in renovation, hence why I'm here today and not in a building site effectively. So yeah, great to see everyone and excited for the conversation.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, both of you. So I'm excited for the discussion as well. And for those who are just tuning in, I'd like to remind everyone that we're going to be answering questions that come in directly from all of you today. So please don't be shy. Submit your questions on the chat to the right of your screen, and we're going to do our best to respond to as many of them as we possibly can. So, ladies, let's jump in. Technology, and AI in particular, is rapidly advancing every single day, and it's changing our workforce as a result. So given that, why is upskilling, reskilling, and skills development so important, given this, and taking into account these changes? Pragashni.
Yeah, such a great question. Thank you, Eloise. So I think, yes, for sure, the rapid pace of technology advancement has led to shifts in skills required. I think all of us in our own workplaces are probably starting to see this. And I would say to remain relevant and to be competitive, we as colleagues, individuals need to make sure that we're continuing to update our skills to align with those of the technology changes. And I'd also say the lifespan of skills is also decreasing due to the rapid pace. So as a result, individuals need to continuously update their skills to stay relevant and competitive. So the jobs of tomorrow do not exist today, or some of them do, and some of them we don't even know. In how we think about the roles of our people can play in an organization. It will enable us to continuously evaluate the skills that we need, and successfully adapt to the organization, right? And also what the industry changes are. So these all highlight why skills first talent strategy is so critical, more so today. It's not that it's new. I know we've talked about skills before, but it's very important today. And this approach of identifying, developing specific skills is crucial rather than relying solely on educational credentials that previously we put a lot of focus on. So upskilling, reskilling as new technologies emerge, AI being the latest one today that our employees need to leverage to their jobs more effectively. Training in all of these skills is a business imperative, and every organization, including Thomson Reuters, this is a huge imperative for us as well. So I think those are some of the ways that I would say today, more so than ever before, upskilling, reskilling is so important today for all of these reasons.
Yeah, nice, thank you. And Rebecca, I'm curious if you could share some examples or tools that Thomson Reuters is using to stay ahead today.
Yeah, absolutely. At Thomson Reuters, we've kind of been on a skills journey already. We introduced Workday Skills Cloud back in 2020, which enabled our employees to give us the skill information. So give us the skills that they have, as well as the skills that they're interested in developing. And that's been fuel for all our career development tools that we've rolled out. as AI has emerged, we've had to think slightly differently as well. And it's more around how do we collectively build skill aligned with, the emerging AI imperative. And so back in 2023, we launched our Global Learning Days, which enabled our employees, A, the time to focus on learning, but B, focus learning time on critical skills. The first was around AI, and it was a great initiative. To supplement that, we've also rolled out learning programs. So we have an AI fundamental learning program that we launched to all employees to help really build that foundation that we should all have, because it affects every role within our organization in particular. We also did a separate learning pathway for our technologists, our product engineers, to really quickly and rapidly upskill those so they can really quickly accelerate into making contributions to our product enhancements. And then obviously, as with all learning, actual hands-on experience is really the key. And so we launched numerous tools that can help experimentation. So we've gotten effectively a similar equivalent to ChatGPT, but within an internal safe environment. And we're encouraging our employees to experiment and leverage the internal technology that we have to really get their hands on and start thinking around how they can integrate it into their roles.
Nice. So a lot going on, and a lot of reactivity to these changes. It seems that you're really incorporating them into the day-to-day of the employees, which is really exciting. The generative artificial intelligence, so AI and machine learning, ML, these technologies are changing the work world as we know it, right? So as you clearly know it, since you're adapting to those changes already. I'm curious, how do you see AI and ML transforming job roles and responsibilities, right? So what people are doing every day and the reasons why they're actually working. Rebecca?
Yeah, I can give this a go. I think AI is going to probably improve our everyday lives, in particular from a work perspective. I think it has the leverage and the opportunity to really help automate those mundane tasks that we all are fed up with fundamentally, and really enhance the work that we do, adding more value and purpose to it. So I think it's going to be of a positive impact. I think it also has the opportunity to open up opportunities. So a role that I wouldn't necessarily have been skilled to do in the past, I think AI and the support that it can provide will open up those opportunities. So from a career development perspective, I think it's quite exciting.
Yeah, and
Pragashni?
not sure, maybe I'll add on, Eloise, but so similar to sort of what I mentioned, AI and machine learning accelerating the pace of change in the workplace, and upskilling and reskilling of these employees in this AI-enabled software and the tech will take a priority for sure. So as jobs and tasks and skills requirements are evolving rapidly, we will see an unprecedented wave of upskilling and reskilling across industries and companies specific to these areas. So the one thing that I know at Thomson Reuters we've been talking a lot about is, as a result of this will drive the adaptability quotient to be as important or even more as important than our IQ and EQ, what we predominantly put a lot of weight on. So employees needing to adapt quickly to new tools, new processes, new roles, making adaptability a critical skill. So all in all, generative AI will enable the augmentation and automation and lead to redefinition of roles. And so all of having the adaptability to be able to move through these changes will be really important. So that's another side to sort of how we see AI, ML transforming jobs and roles, and also kind of being adaptable in this environment.
Yeah, I love it. It's just so much opportunity. It's looking at it as a tool that's going to help us all do things better, do things more in a more interesting way. It's exciting times. And Rebecca, I'm curious, how are you individually upskilling and reskilling in the age of this regenerative AI?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think from my perspective, I'm just trying to educate myself. I'm trying to access any kind of thought leadership article and really help kind of get it slightly ahead of the game to really understand it from my personal perspective, but also as my role, how I can help the organization shift. Again, I'm also looking to practice and experimenting with AI. I'm in our open arena every day now, using it to help evolve my role, using it as a sounding board and kind of content generator. I just think it's a great tool, and the more you play around with it, the more you experiment, the more I'm learning. And one of the key skills that I think is going to be important is obviously prompt writing, right? How we interact with these tools. And so I've been leveraging our LinkedIn Learning as well to just educate myself in a different through the learning content that we have. So yeah, it's kind of just experimenting, definitely on the job learning. But it's an exciting, it's a very engaging topic. So it's easy to get involved and learn.
Yeah, and Thomson Reuters recently launched an enterprise-wide global learning days program, and it's built to boost internal mobility and this skill development. Which the first day focused on AI and ML capabilities. So, can you talk a little bit more about this Global Learning Days program?
Yeah.
Especially with more scheduled coming this year, and how does it contribute to employee skills development?
Yeah, I'll take this one if that's okay for Yashni. So Global Learning Days, were launched back in 2023 in response to two things. Obviously, the need to upskill our organisation in AI, but also through our learning survey, we heard from our employees that they were struggling to find the time to learn and develop. And so we needed to think of a different way to address those issues. And so we rolled out 3 learning days last year. As you mentioned, the first was on AI. That was a critical skill. It was more of a, AI 101 foundations, how we're actually educating our employees on how we're actually using it in our products currently and kind of what the future might look like. We hosted 2 others around career development and our customers. And yeah, we saw really positive output from that. So we had around 8,000 unique learners across the 3 days. As well as employees taking the opportunity to kind of put their out of offices on and focus on their personal skill development through LinkedIn and networking, etc. So, yeah, it was a really exciting experience, and then we're rolling that forward into 2024. Again, we kickstarted the year with AI, focusing on kind of that growth mindset that we all need to kind of adopt. And then actual practical sessions on how to use the tools that we now have, which we didn't have back at the beginning of last year. And again, really great engagement. So it's an exciting opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. I love those hard skills, along with kind of understanding how it fits in and why we're doing it. Really, really important. And Pragashni, can you talk a little bit about the impact of the skills development?
Yeah, for sure. So I think as Rebecca mentioned, one of the genesis of sort of implementing this learning day was, a lot of our colleagues sharing with us that sort of they didn't have the dedicated time and things get busy. And the one thing that we put off is our own learning. So, it's been really amazing to see that the impact that this has had, sort of having dedicated days. And so since the initiation of the program in 2023, employees have dedicated over 75,000 hours to this formal AI training that we just kicked off as well. So this does not include any of the additional hours spent on individual learning and experimentation, and so other subject matter expert learning as well. So that really the program directly contributes to the skill development, providing sort of a structured learning opportunity and encouraging that culture of continuous learning among our colleagues. So it's been a really good way for colleagues to come together. And I'm in Toronto. We've done watch parties as part of this learning days. So it gives us an opportunity to sort of also bounce things off and learn from each other as well. So it's been it's early for us. It's almost we're a year and a half into it, but we're starting to see some impact that's been really powerful as we've been using some of our own leaders as teachers. So really using some of our internal subject matter expertise to kind of teach the learnings as well. So been a powerful few couple of sessions that we've had and looking forward to a couple more this year.
That's great. I love it. And we have some questions coming in from the audience already based on what we've talked about. I'd love to ask one of them to you and see what you can share with our audience. One very specifically is, what is your advice on how applicants can prepare for roles that are continuously upskilling, right? So you're very focused internally on building these skills for your workforce, which is fantastic for them in their careers. But as someone who might be interested in joining your team, for example, where would you point them? What direction would you send them, to go investigate and learn with regards to all of this? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, happy to start. And Rebecca, please add on as well. So I would say start today. Information is everywhere. And so, get curious about sort of our industry, our products, and all of this is made available on the internet, as you would know. So if you're interested in joining Thomson Reuters, interested in sort of understanding what are the roles, what are the opportunities available, I would say get curious online. You could ask questions of different recruiters that are online as well. And then I would say stay current and informed. I think no matter where you are in the industry, whatever organization you're wanting to join, I would say generative AI, being digitally fluent, is critical. So I would say more than ever, keeping an open mind and just learning. So when you come into the interview, or when you're coming in, you're demonstrating that you've done sort of the due diligence and done the work to learn more about the company, to learn more about what we do, but also to show how you're curious and you're upskilling yourself by demonstrating that you've taken advantage of some of these courses out there, whether it's LinkedIn Learning. There's lots of free courses out there being offered today as well. So I would say, yeah, so I think those would be some of the things that I would look for is sort of one, getting an understanding of our company, but two, also what are the other skills that that individual is learning on their own. Rebecca, anything you'd add?
Yeah, I mean, I think you articulated that perfectly. It's kind of demonstrating that growth mindset and ability, yeah, to continuously learn and experiment. And yeah, I think those are the key points.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. And coming back to your workforce and the work that you've been doing with all of them, can you tell us a little bit about the feedback you've received so far from your employees on these upskilling and reskilling efforts, and specifically, how do you measure the success of your learning and skills development initiatives?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with our Learning Day initiative, it was really important that we sought continuous feedback. It was a new concept. We wanted to really hear from our employees around how it was landing, what we could be doing differently, because we took an experimental approach. We had different formats throughout the year, and we're actively seeking feedback around where to land, basically. And so some of the feedback that we asked for was around, was it a worthwhile investment of people's time? And about 90% of participants said it was, which is fantastic, as well as, could they apply the learning? And again, majority did confirm that they could. So that's kind of through the learning days. We also operate a quarterly learner survey, and this is just to keep pulse on how our learners are feeling. And so that's where we got the information and insights around people feeling they didn't have enough time to focus on learning and development. So yeah, it's definitely a key focus, because we want to iterate on all the programs that we offer and really solve our employees' needs.
Yeah, and I'd just add to Rebecca's point, sort of also on an enterprise-wide level, we also have company-wide OKRs, objectives and key results that we have focused on. So sort of this notion something, you get sort of working on fewer things, but going deeper than sort of doing a lot of things. So this has been made as a priority focus on and at the enterprise level as well. So it's around sort of focusing and empowering our employees to learn, grow, and thrive in an AI-enabled future. So in addition to some of the learner survey that Rebecca spoke about, we also monitor progress on a weekly pulse survey that we send randomly to about 3,000 to 4,000 employees within the organization to understand the employee sentiment. So our teams are using this to help shape and adapt some of the offerings as well. So I think all to say that, making sure that we have some rigorous way to get feedback, ongoing feedback, so that we can pivot and sort of make sure that it's relevant to the content that we're providing and what our colleagues need at this point in time. So those are some of the ways that we continue to measure the success.
Yeah, that's great. And it seems, and everything that you're sharing, there's so much opportunity here. There's so much that we don't even know is coming, which is exciting. There's so much to discover and figure out as we go. And I'm curious, could you share with us the tools and the technologies that your team is using to help scale this talent and then the company growth as a result?
I'm going to throw it to Rebecca first because you've been a huge driver of this. So
Sorry, yeah. Talking about technology, my internet's a bit dodgy in the office,
yeah.
but perfect timing.
You got this.
Yeah. So we've got quite a number of resources available for our employees, and I briefly touched upon one earlier. So we leverage Workday and their Career Hub, and so we really use the Career Hub as the employee's dynamic planning tool. Within Career Hub, employees provide it with information on, like I mentioned, the skills that they have, as well as the skills that they're interested in developing. And then it continues to basically provide recommendations on learning and development to support their careers. And so within that platform, they have access to mentors. We have a number of volunteer mentors across the organization, as well as they can access the full library of LinkedIn as well as TR learning content. Another great element of Career Hub is our talent marketplace. So employees have the ability to access different projects that can supplement their current roles, to gain different experiences, connect to different areas of the business, and get that experiential learning element through Career Hub. We also have a Thomson Reuters University, which provides additional learning opportunities aligned with kind of business areas. So we have a tech academy, we have sales, they're just a couple of examples, as well as communities of practice. So leveraging our internal colleagues to really pay it forward with their knowledge. And one of such is called the Project Management Community, which is really active and upskilling our colleagues with project management skills. We also have 10,000 coffees. It is a long list, basically, but I'll be short. We've got 10,000 coffees, which enables our colleagues to connect across the organization. This was a tool that we launched in 2020, which coincided with the pandemic. So actually, it was a great tool to connect our colleagues that felt very siloed, obviously, as we all went into lockdown. And so we also see some great engagement. We have leaders do coffee chats and sharing best practices. So that's another great tool. And we have leadership development opportunities. We have manager onboarding training, and the list does go on. It's a considerable foundation of tools that really help support our employees' career growth. So yeah, it's a good variety of opportunities.
It is. So many different ways that you can come to it depending on person's needs or their interests or their curiosity or their goals, which is really exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We kind of touched upon this a little bit already with the question from the audience, but the majority of our audience here, I assume, are people who are interested in potentially shifting careers or looking to take a step in their career. What advice would you give to those individuals who are looking to upskill themselves to really stay competitive in this ever-evolving workforce?
I'm happy to jump on that one. So I think, as you heard, I think similar to Thomson Reuters, I'm sure many other organizations, there's lots of things going on. But I would say one of the advice is sort of the professional, as professionals, we will need to make sure that we are assuming greater responsibility for that personal growth and career trajectories in the age of AI. So I would say for every colleague that's on this call, make sure that you take a personal, lead in that way. I know that organizations will need to support and wherever you are, but in terms of sort of making sure that we, for ourselves, take the responsibility to make sure that we're growing our own career trajectory. And then the other one is around, Rebecca talked a lot about this as well, sort of embracing this mindset of continuous learning and actively seeking out these opportunities to acquire new knowledge and skills. As we mentioned before, there's tons available, whether that's within the organization or externally. I've even seen a lot of Ivy League universities and others offering free courses. So sign up for any of these so you're continuously learning, because all of these online courses, widespread of availability of resources as well. The other key one is around learning from peers. Rebecca talked about 10,000 coffees. And while we have this platform, which is amazing, that connects peer-to-peer learning, there's probably other ways you can make that work. And so it's important that you are also leaning into peer-to-peer learning networks. I know for me personally, as I support our Ops and Tech organization, I'm continuously learning just from osmosis of being in their meetings, mentorship programs, and other community-driven AI initiatives as well that could continue to strengthen some of the learning opportunities as well. So I would say, a blend of all of these, just most of all being curious, creative, and just staying open and looking ahead for all of these different opportunities out there. So the other thing is you just need to create time. I think that's the one thing that we all struggle with, is just finding time to do this. So I think it's just really important that we block those times into our calendars, or those moments where we are actually out there actively seeking to find these opportunities to upskill.
Yeah, Prakashni, what I'm hearing is just prioritize that time for yourself, because it's going to have such a huge impact on your career opportunities and your learning opportunities moving forward.
It's no longer nice to have, right? It's shifting so fast. It's just, we need to be kind of on top of it for ourselves. Yeah,
absolutely. Rebecca, anything to add to this?
I think Prakashni articulated it really well. I think it's also just kind of trying to stay ahead and look into the future and trying to anticipate the different skills that you might need, and just doing a reflection on kind of where you are with those skills, and then being targeted with your development. But it's, to Prakashni's point, it's easier said than done, but it's kind of just showing commitment to it, and really kind of buying into that personal development. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the one thing that we've also talked about, right, Rebecca, is sort of out of these learning days, the last one that we just did was actually giving time to actually practice, right? So very practical, because one of the things we hear about is also sort of, it's okay to kind of take the learning from sort of a module or online, but actually putting it into practice is where your fear, your sort of this uncomfortableness gets, right? So I think the more that colleagues can start to find those opportunities where they can practice in a safe environment, I think will be critical as well. We had a hackathon not too long ago where we had over 500 of our colleagues participating. And the biggest feedback we got was they were nervous coming into it, but the biggest takeaway impact was that they actually got hands-on experience, that they walked away with some of the experiences that they were able to play back when they got back to their day job. So I think it's also critical that you're getting the hands-on experiences as well.
That's great. That's great. I'm seeing more questions coming in from the audience. So I want to give everyone a chance to answer a few of these. One that I see here is, you talked a lot about education-based learning initiatives. What have you done to enhance your experience-based learning initiatives, as we know that that's the manner in which most employees gain true skills enhancement?
Yeah, absolutely. And Rebecca, I know you can probably jump in on this too. So for us, exactly what I just probably last mentioned, right? So it's education is one thing, but that practical hands-on experiences, learning on the job is far more important and sticky, right? So within Thomson Reuters, we have an opportunity where we post gigs. So these are sort of short-term assignments, secondments, whether it could be from 3 weeks to 6 months. So it's really opportunities for our colleagues internally to make sure that they're getting those experiences on the job. So we have an example today from our Reuters organization. We had a leader who was looking to lean into some of the AI work to learn and then go back. And so we partnered her on a gig with our TR labs where we do the R&D and some of the development. And so for them to go back. So we have a few of those examples, and hopefully more. We're fortunate that we have a system that also does a lot of the matching through the gig system that Rebecca can probably talk about. But I would say critical to the upskilling and reskilling is not just the education, but also more of the practical work.
Yeah, absolutely. And we currently kind of have an AI in action campaign as well to, again, get employees to practice and demonstrate it in their day-to-day work. And we're running a bit of a competition to vote on the best ideas. So it's, trying to encourage that practical application. And we're trying to do that by providing the tools and to Pragashi's point, we have a talent matching system effectively that can really help connect individuals based on the skills that they want to develop. So it gives you insight into the projects that will help you with your particular skill interests, as well as the projects that you have the skill for, that the organization needs the support. So yeah, we've definitely got some opportunities there.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love it. Another question that's coming in is Stephanie asks, I work in nonprofit behavioral health, and we are a bit behind in technology. How can I work to develop AI and other skills independently outside of my organization?
Yeah, I mean, I can have a little stab at this. So there's lots of free tools out there that you can experiment with. ChatGPT, for example, that is free to practice and experiment with. So I just call that out as a good place to just experiment, even if it's a personal question like, I'm going on holiday, can you help me with a holiday itinerary? That kind of thing. And to Pragashi's point, there are some free course content out there. So just kind of explore and figure out the areas that you need to focus on, and then investigate the tools that can help support that. Anything you'd add, Prakashi?
Yeah, no, I mean, and there are, I don't know if Eloise, if there's a way to share resources after with the participants today, but there are also a few sort of thought leaders in this space that you can follow on LinkedIn or others, right? And you're constantly getting, like Ali Miller is one, Ethan Malik is another one that you can follow. So there's a few, there's tons out there. So I think there's also a few of these leaders that put out courses or links or articles. But to Rebecca's point, if there's colleagues on this call that haven't tried ChatGPT, start there and make it as fun as a personal vacation. I did do that just recently, Rebecca, for my next vacation. So it does. I mean, it's the one that's free is a little bit outdated, but so you can pay for the newer version. But I think it still gives a good line of sight to sort of the reality of it.
Yeah, I think it's what I'm hearing is just is diversify the way that you're learning, right? Oh, go ahead, Rebecca. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Just one thing I'd call out is just be careful with data you put into these tools. That's something that we are strongly advocating at NTR, just being very mindful of what data you input, which would then become accessible to others. So yeah, just a word of caution as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One question that's a little bit different, and it's Beth says, "I love what you're doing. I love what you are doing full circle in your career hub. Which talent marketplace did you implement?"
Yep, we're using Workday. So we've doubled down on Workday. We're leveraging most of the tools that they can offer us. We were actually very early adopters with Workday, so we've had time to kind of work with them as well on certain functionality and really help provide kind of that continuous feedback in terms of a product evolution. So yeah, we've been utilizing Workday.
Nice, wonderful. And to come back to the two of you a little bit, at Fairy God Boss, we have a tradition of asking our panelists the following. What we've observed is that women don't necessarily feel comfortable enough bragging or taking ownership of all of the amazing things that they've achieved. So I'm curious if you would share with us an accomplishment, personal or professional, that you're most proud of.
Okay, do you want to go first? As it's super awkward, as you said.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let me have a think. So yeah, I think personally, it actually links back to some of the career tools that we launched, and it was Talent Marketplace. And so, as I mentioned, we were kind of early adopters with that. So back in 2020, we were planning out how we were going to implement. This is pre-pandemic at the time. And at that time, we were going to do small pilot, incrementally increase, and then full rollout in 2021. So a very dramatic approach. But then we went into lockdown and we identified that we need to get opportunities to our employees in a different way, given, we had slightly reduced hiring, different roles had suddenly dried up slightly and more were becoming busy. So how can we kind of get opportunities to our colleagues differently. And so, yeah, we accelerated the timeline and we implemented within 2 months. And I think as I reflect on that, it was incredibly tough time for all of us from a personal level, but kind of collectively all working towards a really purposeful goal. It was incredibly rewarding, and it was great to see the impact that had.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Pragashni.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Rebecca. That did take me down a little bit of a memory lane, and truly appreciate all the work that was done and went through that. So yeah, thank you. So this is uncomfortable, as I admit, but because we always use we and not I, but I think reflecting on sort of my journey maybe I'll stay close to Thomson Reuters. I've been here for 5 years, and one of the achievements that stands out for me is what we've done internally in terms of increasing leadership accountability around talent mobility and fostering a more transparent, candid discussions around careers overall. So within our organization, there was a recognized need to improve how we approach talent mobility. We're a global company. We have teams sort of across many different segments, functions, countries. And so how do we get more talent mobility across teams, across segments? And how do we facilitate these open conversations about career development opportunities? And so recognizing this gap, we also had a new CEO join us just day one after COVID hit. So as partnering with our CEO, we introduced semi-annual talent reviews where our CEO, our Chief People Officer, Mary Alice, and I, twice annually, we would have this discussion with each of the segment or functional leaders around performance, mobility, diversity of team, succession, and all of this really focused on and also we then cascaded to the organization deeper as well. So I think having these sort of semi-annual discussions, it took effort from our leaders, but the meetings became, I could say that now that we've been into this for about 3 years now, the dialogues are more transparent, they're more candid, the leaders are giving more feedback and coaching in the moment and driving to a greater differentiation in our high performance cultures. So really encouraging to see that we're also starting to see more the talent mobility across geographies and businesses. So I think it really goes to show sort of all hands in. We need everybody, not just education, we need leaders, we need managers, we need HR colleagues, everybody sort of all in to make sure that, we're advancing in career growth at Thomson Reuters.
Yeah, thank you for both sharing that. However uncomfortable it was, you're modeling something wonderful for our audience to talk about our accomplishments. So thank you. Before I ask you a few more questions from the audience, I'd also love to ask you a question that we always ask our wonderful panelists, and that is, looking back, what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing this more and more today as I have a daughter. So, but I would say if I could offer one key insight that I would share is, I think I mentioned this earlier, and I'm really passionate about this, sort of take ownership of your own career story. If you're not writing the narrative of your career story, someone else is writing it for you. So always make sure that, you are speaking with your manager, with your colleagues to sort of say, what are things that excite you? What are things that you're learning? What are things that you're growing on? And make that sort of visible as well. And then keep an open mind in learning new things and take things into your own hands. So I would encourage my younger self to be proactive, also in seeking mentors, networking opportunities. I know those are always sometimes very awkward as well. But it really does help to have those networking sessions and getting to know leaders or colleagues across other parts of the businesses. And finally, I would say find opportunity to showcase your skills and some of the wins that you're working on. I think sometimes too often, especially as women, we try to sort of not be front and center. And so I would say find every opportunity to showcase some of your wins, some of the skills that you're bringing to the forefront as well. But yeah, those are some of the advice I would give for my younger self. Rebecca.
Yeah, Rebecca, before we go to Rebecca, I'd love to just double click on one piece there, because thank you for sharing that. It's such wonderful insight. I'm curious how you would, talk to your younger self about finding those mentors for yourself throughout your career. How would you give advice to your younger self and to this audience about going about doing that?
Yeah, so I think mentors are for different reasons. So one, you need to figure out sort of what are you looking for mentorship for? And I know we always get the question of sort of what's mentor and what's a sponsorship, and I'll stick to mentors for now. So mentors are usually there to kind of give you career advice and growth, but you got to understand that the mentors are giving you advice based on their own career stories. So I always say, one, try to find a diversity of mentors. And so it could be that for me, for example, when I was early in my career, I was always in HR. I wanted to go into the business. I sought a mentor in that business that I wanted to sort of learn more about. So you can be very purposeful in how you find your mentor as well. And it's sometimes awkward, but at Thomson Reuters, we also have a system where you can go in and input. So I have inputted myself as being an available mentor and a mentee, because I continuously need to be menteed as well. And then I get requests based on the matches of what I said I could provide as a mentor, and a mentee who said what they're learning for. So there's a systematic way to do it as well in some organization. But if there is no systematic way, I would say be very purposeful in who you want to be mentored. And then I would say make sure that you come prepared to those mentorship meetings. And it's time boxed so that the mentor doesn't feel like it's an ongoing and there's no time box. So you could say, look, can I just meet with you twice within the next 3 months? Can it be a 6-month engagement? So you're absolutely clear. And then you're kind of showing up each time prepared for that conversation as well. I hope that answers one of your questions, Eloise.
That's great, Pragashni. Thank you. Yeah, really, really helpful. Thank you so much. Rebecca, how about you? What advice would you give your younger self?
I think I'm just going to take all of Pragashni's advice now and activate that. I thought that was amazing.
Yours, Rebecca. I'm going to learn from you now.
I don't think I'm as insightful as you are yet. No, I think for me, it's stepping outside your comfort zone. It's often easy to avoid doing that, but I feel that I gain the most when I'm uncomfortable, because I know that I'm doing something different and new, and really embracing that feeling of slight discomfort. That's where I get the most benefit and opportunity. But with that, I think it's easier with a mindset that it's okay if you fail, right? It doesn't matter if you fail, as long as you learn from that. I think failure, if truly embraced, it can be really a critical pathway to success. So those are kind of the two things that I'm going to get the most benefit from it.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Rebecca, I love the being uncomfortable. I completely agree. I think it's some of my biggest learnings have come from when I've been the most uncomfortable, and that sort of uncomfortable as fear becomes a little bit of confidence, but then it gets a little bit, but I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. And this leads into a question that I have right here for you. And it's, can you discuss any programs or initiatives at Thomson Reuters that are specifically designed to encourage more women to enter the field of AI and ML?
Yeah, happy to share. So I think it's probably a combination of a lot of what we've shared. So there's sort of formal learnings and opportunity, and then there's probably a lot that happens informally as well. So a lot of the learning, we would say, as Rebecca had mentioned, so we have the AI learning paths that we've done for the organization, but they're also very specific technologist related AI learning training as well. So we call it AI 101 and 201. That will be rolled out. So those are, again, the formal learnings. But I would say, and then we do also sponsor our women to attend the Grace Hopper conference every year. So we do, that's another way for them to sort of bond with internally as well, but then also meet like-minded colleagues from outside of other organizations as well. And then I would say a lot of what we do internally is we hire and make sure that we have women technologists at the senior leadership level. Our chief operating and technology officer is a woman. Our head of engineering, we have 2 or 3 women. We have, our CISO is a woman. So, it's just sort of also demonstrating and sort of the tone from the top. And, people can sort of look up to see that we have women in these leadership positions, and therefore they can also learn and grow from them as well. So I think those happen organically, but I don't want to sort of bypass that, the influence that has as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then I would just add, we have our Women at TR Business Resource Group as well, who are active in the TR community, and they're actively they host a number of sessions throughout the year to really help bring women together and really kind of upskill as well. So that's another great resource that we have.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic, exciting. Thank you. And as we're wrapping up today, I'm curious to hear from each of you. That the future of work is this topic that a lot of people are talking about, and it's evolving so quickly with AI, with all of these changes. I'm curious, when you hear that term, the future of work, what comes to mind for you? What excites you about what's coming next?
I could start, Rebecca, because so much comes to my head when we say future work. It's probably something that we've been talking about more recently in the last couple of years. So I'd say a couple of things. So there are several key trends and developments that probably rolls up into the future of work. And this is, of course, from my point of view, and everybody can translate this differently. So one is exactly what we've been talking about, sort of automation and AI technologies that will continue to transform the way we're working. So how do we sort of, as our routine tasks get automated, we keep learning new skills, reshaping our roles, moving to a skills-first organization. So all of that is probably one. The second one is around remote and flexible work. Hybrid is here to stay. COVID, the pandemic, accelerated some of these adoption of these different work practices as well. So I would say that's another trend that's informing our future of work. The third one is around our career growth. This is something that within Thomson Reuters for 2024, this is going to be critical, is sort of how do you go beyond, the notion of career growth being just about climbing ladders or changing jobs. And it's more about developing these skills that we've just been talking about, reskilling, upskilling, in having a fulfilling career. So that continuous learning mindset and the experiences that's going to inform our career growth and how we as individuals are growing as well. And then a couple of other ones that come to mind is around sort of focus on well-being and work-life balance. That's also a huge part of future of work. Diversity, inclusion, and the heightened focus on that. And then environmental sustainability as well. So I would say those are all the factors that when I think of what is future of work, that's key to our organization right now that would come up. But yeah, lots going on in that space for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that, and there is a lot there, and there's a lot to unpack. And I think a lot of that is having clear insight into the skills that we have within our organisation and the skills that we need in the future is going to be really critical. So getting that insight and then utilising that information to be more dedicated in terms of like to your point, Priyashni, the career opportunities, how we distribute employees across the organisation to critical projects. I think there's going to be more fluidity in how we can go about doing that as we get clearer in terms of that skill infrastructure as well. So I think, yeah, that's all good points.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
someone say
great.
the other day, it's going to be less about titles and more about skills, right? So I know that previously titles have been so important and jobs. So I think it's sort of the future will be less about sort of titles, but more about sort of what's the next, new skills you're learning and putting into your toolkit as well. So making yourself a bit more dynamic.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That feels like such a tangible shift, right? We don't worry so much about the titles we've had, but basically what we've been able to learn and refine and be curious about over our career that's going to inform the work that we can do for an organization moving forward.
And it's going to be hard, right? I'm not underestimating the change management that will go with this. And I know a lot of what we've shared, some of it we're really good at, some of this we're still learning, testing. We're a huge organization of test and learn. So while it sounds like we're doing a lot, there's been a lot of test and learns. There's a lot of pivots. There's a lot of sort of re-clicking and going backwards and starting again. But I would say, especially with this, it's a huge change management. It's a mindset shift. So not underestimating that for sure at all, but making sure that we're bringing everybody along.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And what would you suggest to individuals out there who are listening to this, and even to the people around you within your organization, to really? So we talked about prioritizing time to do this, right? But how do you think about that curiosity that it takes, because it takes a lot of curiosity and willingness to put ourselves out there and willingness to reinvent ourselves in a lot of ways, and not sit back and say, oh well, I've done all this stuff in my career, and I know how to do all those things, but yes, but how do we take that knowledge and those skill sets, right, that you're talking about, Prakashni, and morph them into kind of how they're going to be successful for us in the future of our career. So essentially, to boil that down, right, is how do you foster that curiosity when some people have worked so hard to build a skill set that might not be as relevant moving forward?
I think, I think from my perspective, that's when the curiosity becomes critical, right? And I think it's leaning into that criticality element, because if you are seeing your skills be somewhat, put aside and others coming in, you kind of don't have a choice, right? But it's getting excited about it. It's looking at it from a positive lens of you get to try something new, you get to learn new skills, and it opens up different opportunities, right? If you that you might actually not realize are now accessible to you. So it's I guess there's an imperative around this, but equally you should take excitement from it as well.
Yeah, and going back to what I think you said, Rebecca, or perhaps it was you, Pragashni, earlier, is that these tools are going to allow us to do things that we might have thought we would never be capable of doing, taking on initiatives or projects or roles or partnerships that perhaps were not available to us before. So really looking at it as that giant opportunity to kind of shift and add more energy into the things that we're doing as well, which is so exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting, right? I think generative AI, when probably when that November it all came out, where previously we would have said AI kind of stays in technology or in data science or something, but generative AI has just given us all an opportunity to be all jumping in because it's going to change one way or another how we're doing things. It's changing for our kids in school, in the school system as well, right? So it's starting from there and then how it comes into the workforce. And I would say, the two things is around, I talked about sort of the adaptability quotient, and I think that's going to be critical because resilience is key, which is a lot of what we've been talking about in the workforce, which is critical because you need to be able to sort of, get back up from sort of setbacks and keep going. But sort of the adaptability piece is sort of that awareness of I need to shift and I need to learn new skills. I need to quickly become a valuable asset, right? So I think that needs to be the shift. So we still need to be resilient because workforce is workforce and there's lots that happens. But sort of that, why we talked about sort of adaptability quotient being even more important, critical today than ever before, even more than IQ and EQ, is because one, just that self-awareness of I need to learn and I need to learn new skills and I need to, keep myself current, whether that's within the organization you're in or you're looking to find a new opportunity, right? So it's critical regardless.
Yeah, nice. Anything that I haven't asked you, or things that have come to mind throughout today that you want to just throw out to our audience? And if not, that's fine. We've talked about so many things already, but is there anything that's lingering in your mind to share?
Actually, the one thing I would say is I know a lot of what we talked about, and I'm sure many of our colleagues and the participants on this call probably come from very different industries and backgrounds and sizes. I think the one thing all of us can do, regardless of where we are, is sort of making sure that we are finding a supportive ecosystem of people, right? That which we all have access to. And if you don't, just lean into others to kind of find that. So whether you have technology access or not, I think creating that supportive ecosystem that encourages you to facilitate that learning. So put yourself amongst people that are like really out there. We have a colleague that Rebecca and I work with, Chris, on our team, who's constantly sort of out there looking at new things. And so it really does force you. So the more you put yourself around these folks, who are out there, I think it'll also get you to sort of get there. So that's the one thing I'll say. Yeah. Thank you.
I love that. Yeah. It fosters that curiosity, right? Being among curious people and go-getters helps you do it too. Yeah. That's great. Thank you.
I echo all of that. And to your point, Eloise, it's keeping curious and keeping focused on keeping your mind open to the different opportunities that are coming, and kind of lean into that nervousness potentially around this, and really kind of embrace that and use that energy to drive, your focus on learning and growing and understanding of AI and how it's going to, really hopefully elevate all of our work lives and, like I said, bring more purpose to it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Pragashni and Rebecca, for joining us today and for your energy and your insights and your curiosity that you've definitely exhibited and shared with us in this conversation. And thank you to everyone who tuned in for the discussion and shared your questions and your comments in the chat. As a reminder, we'll be sending out today's recording along with the resources that were mentioned today to learn more about opportunities at Thomson Reuters. And in the meantime, be sure to check out Thomson Reuters' profile and jobs on Fairy Godboss. There are a few to check out there. Also, we'd love to hear your feedback to help us improve future events. So please head to the Typeform tab on the right side of your screen to share your thoughts in the 1-minute survey. Again, Pragashni, thank you. Rebecca, thank you so much for your time. Yes,
Yeah, thank you for having us.
here. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
been
All right,
great. Thanks
everyone.
so much.
Yeah. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.